Good evening and welcome to Diggers and Dozers Live. I'm your host, Mark Anthony, and we've got a jam packed show for you tonight. But first, let's start officially with this. Now, later in the show, just to give you a heads up, we'll be giving you a first look at some new compact excavators from both Kobelco and from Volvo as well. So be sure to stick around to the end if you're a compact excavator kind of guy or lady. If you've got any questions or comments, please post them in the comment section below. We'd love to hear from you and let us know where you're watching from. Also, if you hear any explosions in the background, it's either my neighbours letting off some fireworks or it's a rival ADT manufacturer attempting to sabotage tonight's show. And they'd be doing so because we're going to devote the main part of tonight's episode to the next generation articulated dump truck that's just been introduced by those good folks at Liebherr. Before we take a closer look, just a bit of context. Exactly 1 year ago, Liebherr invited a hand-picked group of journalists, not including me, to Germany and Austria to see a prototype of the new ADT. Before we go on with the show, let's take a look at what that prototype actually looked like. Now, 12 months later, that prototype is a reality. And I think the fact that Liebherr has managed to launch such an important new product in the midst of a global pandemic is probably to their huge credit. But I will warn you, I am a bit biased. As a journalist, I'm expected to be objective and unbiased, but there are some brands for which I just have a greater than usual respect, and Liebherr happens to be one of those brands. So to keep me in check and to ensure that I don't get too carried away with my own enthusiasm, I'm delighted that I'm going to be joined on tonight's show by my co-host and good friend Peter Haddock. While I'm getting Peter onto the stream, let's take a look at what that new Liebherr ADT looks like now that it's had 12 months in post-prototype refinement. Here we go.
This is the new Liebherr TA230, the next generation of dump trucks. Newly developed and extensively tested on a test track specifically built for it to its absolute limits. The results: tremendous driving performance, thanks to maximum acceleration and top speed, even when fully loaded. Loading happens easily and intelligently. No gradient is too steep, with its impressive traction and its dynamic pace. Simple unloading, all with perfect visibility at any time of day. A steep angled slope, its solid brake joint and maximum ground clearance deliver endless application possibilities. Whether on sand, scree or mud, it feels at home on any terrain, in any weather. Because this truck is prepared for any challenge. The Liebherr TA230, the newest addition to our family.
Good evening, Peter. That was seamless.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely brilliant as well. I love that. You know, the actual videos showing there. Mark, I love the fact that they crashed it as well, which is brilliant. I mean,
it certainly shows they're testing it properly, doesn't it?
Yeah, and what confidence does that show everybody that they've got in that machine? Look,
absolutely. Now, we will get on to the ADT in a second, but before we start talking about dump trucks, I think it's important we start talking about hats.
Oh.
Those of you that were here for our last live show will know that I was bemoaning the fact that I don't own a Bobcat baseball cap. Well, after our previous show went global, and that's Bobcat's words, not mine, the fine folks at Bobcat have been in touch, and I'm promised that there's a hat on the way for each of us. With that in mind, Liebherr, just saying, just saying. Right, Peter, let's get on with the show properly. We've obviously both had a chance to have a look at this new ADT now. Obviously, Liebherr has an incredible pedigree in the mining sector with its larger rigid trucks. That new model, based purely on the video that we've seen there, it really looks like it's building on that heritage, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think what's really important about this model is actually what they're doing here is they are completing their fleet mix again. For me, in this industry, particularly in the ADT space, people are looking at how you can put together an ADT, an excavator, and a dozer in particular. And I think what's really important for Liebherr, and they've gone all out with this, is they've recognized that they can do that in the mining sector, and they've been really, really successful in combining everything together. But it's needed to be done in the construction sector, particularly as we have some really, really big infrastructure projects in the UK, HS2 being one of them. But, I think that what they've done, and when I look into it in more depth, is they've taken their design approach and their testing approach. I think it's something like 15,000 hours, and they've got things moving all of the time to put those hours in. But what's really interesting is if you read some of the information on it, they've got simulation models, they've used virtual reality, and they've used all of these different elements of technologies to bring this machine into the market, knowing that it's going to actually work for the people. They've even used avatars, Mark, to simulate replacing a tire. And I mean, this is really clever stuff, isn't it? And it's really coming from what I've seen in mining and those big applications and those challenges that people face. I think they're really.
I think you're dead right, and I'm certainly interested by the timing of this, and you've already alluded to it. I mean, the arrival of this ADT is perfectly timed for that little project that I know you know a lot about is HS2. I know you. I mean, you've reported on the fact that it's going to see the welcome return of scrapers, but I've heard various reports that HS2 through its life, through the construction phase, is going to require somewhere between 400 and 700 ADTs. Liebherr have really pitched up at just the right time, haven't they?
Yeah, I think they have. And again, this is within the sort of 30-ton, 28-30-ton class. And, we know that perhaps ADTs on HS2 are going to be slightly bigger, but, we've always going to have a mix there, and we're always going to have a demand for that class. And obviously, they're going to be pushing ahead with the other ranges, the 40 and the 42-ton, I believe. And I think, it's really, really important that we look at how Liebherr is coming to market here. And if you don't mind, Mark, I want to go into a little bit of detail on some of the things that really grab me when it comes to HS2, because there are big numbers there, but HS2 is just one of the key things infrastructure projects on at the moment, and we're looking at a lot of investment in highways, and we're looking at investment in other infrastructure like utilities, and we're talking billions in the UK on that. But what's really important is Liebherr have designed, yes, an ADT, but they've also understood that the technologies that need to come into play there. So we've got an assistance system, they call it, for payload monitoring. And what I want to know, Mark, and I'm hoping somewhere Liebherr is going to be able to tell us this, are they having some of their technologies delivering real-time information, not just through this sort of traffic light payload system that they've got on there, to the actual operators in cab systems, but also to the site managements for big things like that. And also, Mark, I've noticed sort of hidden away, and you know what I'm like with technology, hidden away is this LIDAT, data transfer location system that they have, which is actually what's the real important element to the solution of how this machine is going to communicate with the rest of the connected work site and the job site, because it's connected site management and data that is really going to be important on these big projects, and that's going to be key to the success. Have Liebherr developed this LiDAT system that's got enough information to share with those mixed fleet operators on these projects? And they're saying it's a sort of comprehensive fleet management system, which can also talk about the sort of localization of where it is, remote monitoring of machines. Great, tick boxes there, fantastic. And also, for me, there's that strategic scheduled maintenance and reduced sort of life cycle machine downtime. Now, for me, we all know how well Liebherr puts things together. And we know from their excavators and their dozers that the reliability and the uptime is world class. And I think what I'm seeing through this sort of LiDAT day system coming into the ADT is that they're saying this is there for that. We've got an intelligence maintenance scheduling and things like that for the ADT as well. And all of that information, I hope they're going to actually be able to make available in real time for people that are using that equipment on the major projects, because it's absolutely what has to happen. And all of that machine data has to come in to a wider system that's going to be used on projects now, like the sort of machine match thing. There's a digger system on HS2 as well. And so that for me is the extra bit that I'm interested in that's coming from those machines, because that's the connected work site I talk about so often.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if we've got anyone from Liebherr in. My guess is, they've certainly made a big enough play on the LiDAT system. I'd be very surprised if their brand spanking new generation ADT doesn't have it. But if anybody from Liebherr is watching and you'd like to comment, we'd love to hear from you. And while we're waiting for that, I think one of the things that stood out from the video is the company's put a lot of thought into the machine's driving capability. Not surprisingly, given that it is a moving vehicle, but it does have a lot of ground clearance. It's got 360 horses under the bonnet. Seems to have torque for days. Obviously, ADTs have their issues in the bad weather, but as we head into the winter months, all of that is going to be absolutely vital to maintain production, isn't it?
It is. And the other thing that I've picked up on, Mark, is the fact that they've got this smart gear selection, because one of the things that I talk about a lot is fuel. And every contractor and every plant hirer is always looking at fuel, but it's about moving the material in the most cost-effective and optimized way. So with their smart gear selection that they brought in with this ADT, you're actually getting the machine that's automatically changing gears so that fuel consumption is reduced and the machine operation is optimized. So it's basics, Mark, reducing the cost per ton per litre of transported material at the actual pace in which the site needs to go to. So if you've got haul rows where you can go a bit quicker, or if you've got, if you're in a quarry situation where you've got the sort of quite a heavy sloped haul roads, then they've got that optimization. You're not having all of this gear changing, therefore preventing the optimization of fuel consumption. And so, from the operator's point of view as well, I think one of the critical things I see, and you just look at the machine, there's a big slope down from where the engine is placed in. That's visibility. That's much, much better visibility that they're giving to the operator. And I can see, there's a great impact that's going to have for the operator overall. And again, they've used the sort of visualization to put the operator in the cab in that design element. And then one of the critical things we all know about ADTs is when you're operating an ADT, when you're going up and down slopes, but particularly when you're going down slopes at speed and things like that, obviously, it's all about braking. So they've got hydraulic multi-disc brakes on all axles, but like some other OEMs that I know more about from their ADTs, they've also looked at how you can get a zero wear, they're calling upstream braking system. Now, that's quite important because in real world terms, that's basically using an engine brake and a hydrodynamic primary retarder. So it's retarding and engine braking. And so what that allows is the sort of continuous operation of the brakes that's activated automatically, as Liebherr explaining it. And so as soon as the brake pedal is pressed, and so that's really highly controllable, and that's really important from a safety perspective, but also so that you're not, burning out those brakes, and that's a really big cost to that when that happens. So additional safety, but also thinking about the wear of the machine, and therefore talking about servicing of brakes that is not going to actually be increased. In fact, is going to be decreased by that clever system. So so there's some really important things that Liebherr brought in there from that operational perspective. And I also noticed the shape of this sort of skip that allows it to be loaded effectively by wheel loaders and excavators that obviously Liebherr actually have in their fleet mix.
No, absolutely. One of the things that you've just mentioned there is automatic gear changes, which kind of brings us nicely onto the operator himself or herself. My son actually saw the prototype of this in action, and he said, that the cab itself is automotive. It does feel like a lot like a car area, that kind of thing. Operator comfort, I think, is always important, regardless of the machine. But I think even more so in an ADT, because you are constantly on the move, and you are one of the prime movers on a site, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, look, come on, your tap testing facility is brilliant. I mean, you look at it going like this, and you can imagine you're like in a washing machine if you're in that ADT, but actually the driver is in that comfort, So again, what they've done is they've got the sort of same sort of logic in what they've been doing in their excavators and in their mining machines, and so it's all about being ergonomic. It's all about having that really nice visible area. And so as you sit back in the machine and you look at those sort of pictures that I've looked into, you've got that visibility. You're not, straining. You're not doing this. There's a really nice tablet system there that's in the operator's viewpoint that sees the rear as well. And, there's all of that sort of really nice, calming, spacious cab. And I think what's also important, and you can see they've made quite a big thing of it when it goes do in their videos, is the lighting. Because I'm going to be honest with you here, Mark. I've got a huge light that's lighting me up now because I'm in an office where the lighting is not very good for a live. So I know I have to be lit up, and these guys know that the site has to be lit up, and there's a big powerful lighting package there, and I think that's really fundamental. And I think when you look at how they've worked with the operators, and when you look at how they've designed for the operator and taking into consideration all shapes and sizes, that's really good.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, those views are echoed by our good friend Nick Drew. Operator comfort is so crucial for long shifts in ADTs. Absolutely spot on, Nick. I totally agree, and glad you could join us for this evening. This is obviously the first of a new generation, and it is a 28 tons payload. So, quick calculations in my head. I guess this is a 4 or 5 pass loading with maybe a 50-ton class excavator. That means it's going to be going head to head with some really good established machines like the Volvo A30, the Terex TA 300, and obviously the Caterpillar 730 as well. That's some pretty stiff competition right there, isn't it?
Yeah, you know what? This is a really competitive sector of the marketplace. And I think, a lot of effort's been put in the last few years into the next generation. And obviously this is a tier 5 machine. But what I think you're going to find with Liebherr is there's going to be quite an element of brand loyalty that's going to come in here because people that operate Liebherr machines, whether it's an excavator, a wheel loader, a dozer, etc., they really do understand the build quality that Liebherr brings to its machines, and also the attention to detail that they bring. So I think you're going to find that it's not going to be a difficult sell to sell one of these ADTs. I'm not sure of the price, but I'm sure that they're competitive, because they've got that, and because the biggest thing that we talked about earlier is that fleet matching. Now you can see how it's been designed to work with other Liebherr equipment, and you know, the real world comparisons and optimization of how that they can bring the Liebherr fleet together means that if you are a Liebherr fleet operator, it's a natural choice for you to add this ADT to your fleet. And also, let's not forget, well, there are some challenging numbers to be met just for that HS2 piece there. But HS2 is just, you know, it's a big project. It's a big part of the industry. But so there's lots more out there. So actually, you know, there's going to be capacity and volume levels available for people to get out there. And I'm sure Liebherr will get out there with demonstration units and things like that. And what they have done is they've proven that machine has the uptime and the capability to be one of the workhorses on the site. The biggest failure of any new entry of any new machine is if the reliability is not there, and if you have those problems, you know, and if, let's be honest, an operator doesn't want to sit in that machine, you know. So I don't think Liebherr are going to have a problem with that. That testing facility that they've created is world class. They've been putting it through its paces, and I really think that this is going to potentially worry some of those OEMs that actually didn't want Liebherr to come with something new into this marketplace, particularly at this time.
No, absolutely. Just to let you know, Kenneth Hatcher, who, as I've said previously, is here almost as often as I am. Glad to see he's here. He's just put a comment up. Doesn't like driving ADTs because they make him fall asleep. I guess that speaks volumes for the comfort levels in an ADT. Not so sure you should be falling asleep behind the wheel, though, Kenneth. But great to see you here again tonight. This is a recurring thing for you and I, Peter, but no conversation about construction equipment these days seems to be complete without some talk of new technology. And sure enough, you know, Liebherr has packed its new ADT with plenty of innovation. The part that really caught my eye, I think, is the fact that the machine actually performs its own pre-start checks and then reports its findings to the operator. That's another great leap forward, isn't it?
Right. This is super clever, Mark. Right, because what do we need to do? We need to make everything easy and simple for the operator, you know, and ADTs are one of those machines that are a progression machine for the operator. So you're going to get maybe younger operators coming in to sort of cut their teeth on ADTs, and because everything's got so complex in how you can operate these things. You've got this mode, that mode. There's this thing that goes beep. There's that thing that goes beep. There's a monitor here. There's so much that a machine can tell you that actually, let's think about the basics. Yeah. So the pre-start check. This is what we've got. We've got we've got a hazard on this, or there's a potential issue here, you know, that we want to let you know about. Well, that's just great, because the person gets in there, they can have a look at that before they even start their day. They can go, right, I've got to go and sort that out. Or, you know, simple things like, I don't know what kind of reports they are, but simple things like, you know, it's a really bad day and I'm going to get low, you know, it's really rainy like it was earlier last week. And also, you know, I was on a site full of mud on Tuesday this week. And so, really, basically, what they're saying is, you know, the screen wash is down. Right, let's go and add some in. So you don't get to this situation whereby you're halfway down and, you know, there's no way of getting that screen wash working, for example. It's just simple things like you need. And that's great. And I think also what we want is we want the machine to do the work for us. So we want that machine not just to tell the operator, but that information, I'm hoping, can actually go to the site manager, can actually go to the plant hire manager, or whatever and can actually be sent automatically as a health check, like with other OEMs, to the Liebherr dealer or the Liebherr team to say that this is a problem. So I really, really love that. And, the fact that it does it and it shows all that information is a real step forward, and it's just simple stuff, really. So introducing it's clever.
Yeah, I totally agree. Peter, I want to let you go because it is a late one tonight. I'm going to let you get back to your evening. First off, where can viewers find you and find out more? I know you're constantly on LinkedIn because you put me to shame there, and obviously you've got your podcast. But where is the best place for people to find you?
Well, look, the thing is, I do a lot of work on LinkedIn because I actually want to talk to people and the professionals in the industry, and that goes right the way through from CEOs all the way through to operators and back again. And all of those different people on LinkedIn talk to me in a sort of professional capacity, and I like to engage with people on LinkedIn, and I've got a lot of really useful information from those operators that are willing to share that information for us. And obviously, I go out and I talk to the big players in the industry. So I talk to the likes of Flannery, Sunbelt Rentals, Ardent Hire, all of these people are going to be buying this machinery, and some of the key people in the tier one contractors like Skanska. In fact, I'm going live on Friday with Mark Lawton from Skanska for Highways UK, talking about the future of the continuous automated plant and what's going to happen and what those tier one contractors are looking about. So, find me personally on LinkedIn. You can find Content with Media by going Content with Media on Facebook. We're also on Instagram and Twitter, and you can find all my back catalogue of videos on Content with Media's YouTube channel. And it is a back catalogue, because I tend to post everything natively on the core channel. So that's where you can find me, Mark. And of course, not forgetting, if you're a podcaster, type in Content with Media on Anchor, on Spotify, on Apple and the other platforms, and listen to me droning on. But most importantly, listen to the leaders of the industry telling you what they want to happen.
No, absolutely. Peter, it's been a pleasure as always. I really appreciate your insight and your enthusiasm. I would urge people to go and check out Peter's podcast. It's jam-packed with insight. So, Peter, you get back to your evening, and I shall see you very, very soon.
Thanks very much, Mark. A pleasure to talk to you yet again. Cheers for getting me involved.
Now, way back at the start of the show, you remember ages ago, I promised you that I'd show you some new machines from both Volvo and Kobelco. And I am nothing if not a man of my word. So let's take a look at what those manufacturers have been up to as well. Volvo Construction Equipment has announced the introduction of the new F-generation version of its popular ECR50 compact excavator. Aimed squarely at rental fleet operators, the new 5-ton machine features a zero tail swing design for working in confined spaces. In addition, the in-track boom swing ensures the swing post and cylinder remain within the track width when digging alongside obstacles. The machine can be tailored with a range of attachments and options, including a tilt quick coupler, green beacon, extra counterweight and an extra hour meter. As with all Volvo excavators, the ECR50 is more than 93% recyclable and compatible with bio-hydraulic oils. Sticking with the green theme, construction and demolition giant Keltbray has announced that it's currently trialling Green D Plus biofuel. This is a hydrogenated vegetable oil, or HVO, that has the potential of reducing carbon dioxide emissions by 90%. The fuel is currently used in generators, but this is the first time it's been tested in a Keltbray excavator. The trial consists of running 2 identical Caterpillar 25-ton machines, one on standard red diesel and one on Green D Plus fuel. Ongoing analysis will be carried out remotely using the machine's own telematics. The trial is expected to last approximately 8 weeks. And finally, Kobelco has relaunched the SK45 SRX and SK55 SRX-6XE compact excavators. The new models feature the same integrated noise and dust reduction technology first seen on the company's larger SR class. As part of the relaunch, the large capacity engine has been repowered to comply with the new Stage 5 emissions regulations. You can find out about all of that and a whole lot more, including the new Liebherr ADT over at diggersanddozers.com. As you can see there, we just had Tristan Mays, who is a crane operator, crane specialist, who also runs a podcast. It seems like the world and his wife have a podcast these days, but Tristan's is very, very good. If cranes are your thing, go check him out. I can't remember the address off the top of my head, but if he's still there and still watching, I'm sure he will let us know where to find it. I'm fairly sure it's on the Anchor platform. Quite why he said "evening, you beautiful people." He's clearly watching through rose-coloured spectacles, or he's got us confused with somebody else. But good to have you here, Tristan, as always. Now, as it stands today, Peter and I will be back on the 18th of November for a very special episode. Obviously, here in the UK, we're about to go into lockdown, which will make launching new products and new systems difficult, if not impossible. But it's our intention to maintain our output of regular shows. I'd love to commit to a weekly show, but obviously the flow of news doesn't necessarily allow that, and we have day jobs as well. But we are looking to work with the key equipment manufacturers to ensure that their new machines can be seen by as big an audience as is humanly possible. So to those equipment manufacturers, I say this. As our shows with the likes of Sany, Komatsu, Hitachi, Bobcat, and now Liebherr have proved, we have now a proven show format, and we have a global audience. So if you do have any new machines coming down the pipe and you're wondering how you might get the maximum exposure you need for them, while many industry magazines are at a standstill, well, you know where to find us, and we'd love to speak to you. Just a very quick reminder, as Peter's just said, 18th of November is going to be a big show. Nick Drew is going to be joining us as well. I'd like to get Nick on live if I can put his arm up his back and convince him to do that. But make sure you mark the 18th of November in your diary. It's going to be a big one. It's going to be an exciting one. And we're going to be going balls out, as they say, to make that one an absolute belter. If watching me tonight hasn't put you off entirely, I will also be restarting our Demolition Daily live stream over on demolitionnews.com as of tomorrow. For those that you don't know, during the first lockdown, I broadcasted daily, producing well over 80-odd shows, I think it was. And now, as obviously the UK is slipping back into the lockdown situation, that show is going to be resurrected. So I hope you can join us. Either way, until then, look after yourselves, stay safe, look after yourselves and your family and your friends and your colleagues. Thanks again to Peter. Thanks to Tristan, to Kenneth, to Nick, to Peter, well, there's two Peters there, to Bob for taking part tonight. Really appreciate your time. Have a great evening, everyone, and I will see you again very, very, very soon. I do have something to play us out with.